Hello and welcome. It is the 24th day of April 2019. Let's take a quick look at all the general markets. And I'll start this off within the stock market using SPY as an indicator and go through very quickly all bets, trades of the like within each own risk and their own reward. On the monthly chart, it's been up quite high from these 68 base lows, now at around 300 and working on towards making it a 5x move. Not quite there now. It's leaving the 18 average. So as far as overextended up too much, it's up a lot from this point. I don't have access to the quarterly chart or yearly charts, but it just keeps going up and up because, well, the big reason, currency devaluation. But back in here, the markets were extremely overextended, and now it's marginally higher, and it's showing breakout stages. It's already had this significant correction showing that it's had a test of this high once before, had this correction after that last retest of previous high. Now it's leaving the band in this situation. This could be like one of those lights out kind of moves as we could be testing in towards this, even getting above 400 easily. This thing could easily get over to 5. And we always have that hyperinflationary mode. No signs of it really happening now, as in like the next few months. But at some point, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. On the weekly time frame, it had this big move here, bigger than this one, and it's just kept going up. It's very overextended on the weekly. And will it pull back? It's one of those spots I hate where I'm trying to guess. Oh, is it gonna go up? Is it gonna pull back? Well, it's went from here to here with hardly any pullbacks at all. But that doesn't mean that that big pullback can't happen after a nice major leg higher. Maybe this goes to the next run over the next 2 3 weeks. It goes to 330, 350. Then it starts having a pullback. Maybe it has it now, builds an inverted head and shoulders pattern, as we would be talking about the left shoulder here, the head in this part here. So if the price can come anywhere towards this general area, somewhere in the 260s down to 255 to 265 area, then you could be talking about building that shoulder. And then if you have a big move, you're talking about, okay, this could be decent sized candles. And we could have a decent lift off to the point where a good correction would bring us back to this point. And I'd be saying, okay, here we are now. We're at like 305 minimum in that area or higher. And then you could be like, oh, a decent pullback from 305 to 293 would be like a 4 or 5% move and yada, yada, yada. Within seeing it on the daily, we are coming off of this 18 average and breaking out past this level of resistance. So another push higher coming soon would not be that big of a surprise. And I'll just quickly finishing off within the hour. Yesterday's move, three big hours up, and then has been majorly going sideways ever since. Still has some time to meet up with this. And now let's move on to the gold market. And it's on its monthly chart has been having continuous action amongst this key 1321 Fibonacci level, which represents 38.2% from this low to this high. And it's been battling, hanging in there within the 18 for quite some time. It can still go down an okay amount, like 1226, 1218 area, and still make this higher low. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it just wouldn't be. I mean, it's all the things. There's so many potential things that could happen. I just realized if it does this, expect that. If it does this, do that type of thing. And one of the ones breaking out above here, it's a fast move. And obviously for higher low, I mean, if it is coming down towards like 1240, I'm not going to give this any reason for major concern that this is going to have a big leg lower. On the weekly chart, it had this correctionary move and wasn't able to really break above it from that point. And maybe we still may get a little bounce from here, but if it's not going to work here, I'm expecting a 61.8% down move, or even a move down to this 1239 would be, I think, a good, interesting spot, or a decent likelihood that support would come in, at least for some level, at that point. And on the daily chart, it does look more that it might even happen because all this major level of key support, it's been resisting it and holding there for so many days. But I wouldn't try to make any major bets of any sort. Oh, it's going to go down here because for me, I'm the type of person, if I make a bet it's going to go here, this thing's just going to break out on me. And I just leave it at that. I'm going to move on to silver next, but it's actually silver's looking good over the last half hour or so. So gold, it's got a decent pattern as well. We can see on the hourly, after all of this down move, it gets above the 18, comes back to the highs, green candle up, comes back down again to the lows, and has just rallied higher. This has got to look sweet on the 15, and it does. So here's how you got like almost like a double bottom pattern and a really aggressive right one, as it had a couple extra volatile moves in here, and it broke pierce below it, and we're like six or so 15-minute periods up, already piercing above. So and I don't really want to lead anything to this volume, but definitely good signs in here that things might be picking up. Let's move on to the silver metal. And amongst its single hour, and I'm going to give this a little time, at least for the chart, because the long term is pretty much all about the same and just not much going on. But amongst in here, you have this high back to this low. Another high, which is a pierce above, barely a higher low. Now we've already had a bit better of barely a higher high, and on its single hour time frame, this is a spot where we come above the 18, break down below, and to me that's breaking established resistance stage number 4. It has come up to this level of key resistance, and one might say this wasn't good enough for established resistance. If that's the case, well, definitely this would be now. So on the situation coming back down, holding this little move, stay at about 1485 for more than about for the rest of the day, then we can possibly start talking about on the 4 hour how something like this could at least start to flatten out and maybe make an attempt to start to take some of this more longer term from where we were in the short term bearishness off of the market. I recently bought this particular coin, the 2019 Year of the Pig Australian Lunar 1 kilo coin. And it's a nice little coin. I now have 5 of these 1 kilo coins. Because in playing the game of cryptos, that's what it is. Try to make numbers games out of it. And one of the scores is trying to complete the task of getting every single one of those 1 ounce or 1 kilo coins. And there's a lot of them. I don't even want to count right now. There are dozens and dozens of them. So I got a long, long ways to go. But you know what? It makes the game a challenge because there's no way I could do it now as far as buying them all. But I feel it's applicable as well. I mean, Bitcoin's going to have to do fantastic to do it. There's no other way. But in such an event, I can work towards that goal. On the Bitcoin chart, I've been talking a lot about how it's shown a lot of strength amongst the 18 average of highs in the 2 previous days from today. Really nice little breakout from the 5300 high point here, making a resistance move up to 56. Still a long, long ways away from expected target that I have in the mid 6000 area. But it's also getting a lot further away from this key Fibonacci point of 48.5 as well at the same point as well. With price action at 463 above the number, plus another 150 on top, a little more, that would represent about like 620 points or dollars to go down. So it needs, and not like it can't do it in one day, but it still now works to be 12% away from this point. And just to get up another 1,000 points to the mid 6,000 number, well, now we're talking about a 20% move. I'm not going to say which one I think is favored because I kind of thought in here we were looking at usually this isn't one of the usuallys, this is the off cases, but usually if you don't find resistance here like we were supposed to, which is the favorite we'll say, and you really don't find support, and I don't count this as really anything but lift off short-term support because pierce above, not really. So if you're gonna have no resistance here, I'm expecting a fast move. And from this point in here, or at least from this resistance, I would have been expecting like fast moves in like 5, 7, 9, 10 days. And here we stand 21 days later. Okay, that's how it goes. On the weekly chart, you have this big green, you have 2 pause candles, and you barely go up. a little bit more. We could still have more pause. It could end with a productive up green period, and or it could have that red down. But those are really mainly a few of the other of the options. Right now, again, the pause moves just show that since this rally, there's been very low volatility. There hasn't been any major selling from this point because the prices have been higher. People who were buying down here have opportunities to sell at some profits, and some are obviously have, but not enough to make this price go any lower at this point. And then you got the people who were, oh my goodness, it fell. If I get anything back or whatever back, I'm just going to sell. Okay, well there you go. You've had days and days and days and days to digest prices over 5,000. And again, some of them already did. People that were in from before, getting out at not as bad of a loss or a break even or small profit or whatever case they were, they exited out of the crypto space or a portion of it at that time, and it, it hasn't done anything to reduce the market. It just keeps grinding its way higher, as we can see. I guess the 1 hour doesn't do justice for what I was looking for. But you can just make it its moves, some correctionary plays here and there. We're going through one right now because since the break of this resistance, it's managed to come back down to this level. I'll cover more in-depth stuff about cryptos later on, but let's just quickly go over Litecoin. As one of the, I'm wrong on this now, but one of the things I thought wasn't going to happen was there wasn't going to be any significant resistance at 100, I was saying, and well, this high comes in at 98.04. That's close enough. This high comes in at 97.21, and that's close enough to a match in here. And that means because if it just hit this a little bit, then over the next few days it started to go higher. That would have just been just a little bit short-term resistance. But if it has enough time or price leaving from this point, then right now it's already been. If it just comes up now and really breaks it with little to no conviction of on any bull run higher, then I would call it an okay amount, but more than I thought it would have been. It does work out now that when we look at this on the daily, I'm going to put this back to auto so we can see this a little bit better. That we've had this time correcting in here. Now it's just holding on not so well. But we got a situation where Bitcoin's holding okay. This one isn't. Which move is going to bring the situation in play? Because if Bitcoin goes down, it's going to have some of its correctionary phase it needs. And quite frankly, this one would be as well along the weekly chart. And you know what? Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. But the one thing I probably made a little mistake on is short selling it. I'm very glad that I did get that pig coin with Litecoin. As with the prices as it was, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I could have sold 4 times the amount there, even 5 times the amount at these spots in here. But that it is what it is, and that's why, even though I think something's going to happen, I might not always be correct upon the situation. Now, long term, I'm playing that the crypto games work well, and I'm just gonna make the trades when they come in. I'll talk more about them later because I have made some, but I'll talk about that later in the afternoon or evening. Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye bye.